Okay, so could the story of the Bible have been written any better than we received it? I wanted to talk about this because I always hear people just criticizing the Bible and criticizing how just certain parts of it, because some of it can be horrific, some of it can be hard to receive and digest. But if you allow me this, say the garden, grant the Garden of Eden happened. The Garden of Eden happened and we fell. If you were kind of writing the story, but you had to accept that part of it, and this creation that you made of human beings, and they fell and disobeyed you and went into sin, how would you have made the story go from that point? How would you have written redemption? Because I would argue that there's no other better way that it could have been written if we grant that. If we grant that. And to kind of top it off, I want to talk about a very specific conversation that Alex O'Connor had with William Lane Craig, and they got into some probably the toughest pills in the Bible to swallow. And you might not like William Lane Craig's answer, but it at least is consistent. All right, so let's actually switch over there, because they're going to talk about the conquest of Canaan, the slaughter of the innocents. And you're like, why did I jump to this? Because this is the toughest part of the Bible to get on board with. I would argue with it. If you look at this and you say, why would God have decreed this for the Israelite people to go into the land of Canaan and kind of drive them out and wipe out everyone that was there? But let's first of all hear William Lane Craig's answer.
And more happy than anything conceivable, and certainly far better than if they had been allowed to live and be raised in such a corrupt and evil environment as they were in. So it was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be killed and go to heaven and be with God.
You must understand how that sounds, saying it was a blessing for these children to be killed and go to God. I mean, this is something that Dawkins quotes you on directly, and I'm interested in you share my assessment here that even if he's not correct, I can understand why he would hear you say something like that and think that it's morally repugnant, that it's revolting. In any other context, if somebody says something like, well, maybe the murder of these children, I suppose you wouldn't see it as murder, but the killing of these innocent children is a blessing to them, it just seems again to run against our intuitions. I mean, you mentioned
doesn't it, Alex? I mean, I
okay. That might be very tough for anyone just kind of jumping in and hearing this and not listening to the whole conversation that Alex and William Lane Craig had together. I've always been the type of person, I don't want to just give the easy answer just to try to skate by and not be confronted on the tough issues of the Bible. I might sound stupid at times, and I'm willing for that, and I'm always willing to learn more and not say this is how it is. I know exactly why that happened in the Bible, and I can explain it perfectly. And I think William Lane Craig, he's thought this through. In this particular event, he says that these children, and not even children, it was men, women, and children, they were told the edict was given by God to wipe them out, to remove them from the land, to basically drive them out of the land. If they fought back, then they were to eliminate them. And that is very tough, because but we have wars all the time. And if we think of it people are fallen people, and people are always getting each other's business and just getting fighting about stupid stuff. So we understand that the human condition is that way. But when we try to bring God into the picture, I understand why it can be tough to swallow. Specifically, why God would have given this command. And like I said, this is very tough, because I said the biblical argument for the redemption story, I am saying that it could not have been written better, but this is probably the toughest part of it to get through. And if we back up a bit and just grant, if you would grant me this of that we are fallen, that people are corrupt, nobody's perfect. You've heard that one before. And if we did fallen and we are here, how is God going to make things right? If he promised, he told Adam and Eve, he actually just told Adam, he told Adam the command, if you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die. And then Adam tells Eve, don't even look at it, don't even touch it. But then they do, and they just bring us in and they throw all of the rest of their children, us who are here, into this mess. How is God going to make it so that we can be restored? How is he going to make it so we can be restored and back to a right relationship of him? If God cannot look at sin, if God cannot look at evil, his eyes are too pure to look at anything wrong or evil. How do people that are fallen and that have disobeyed him, how do we be brought back together? I would say like the simplest argument is, in defense of it, is the way that it went about. That God promising these events that he would send in a redeemer to bring us back to himself. And the way that it's just outlined, it might not seem it's like perfect, but for me, it seems like there's no other way, because there's no other explanation. You could say, oh, God would just say, oh, it's all good. I forgive you. We're going to just start over. But if he did that, we would be wiped out. The whole point of redemption is to show grace. God didn't give grace to everyone. He didn't give grace to the angels when they disobeyed him. But he somehow decided to give grace to Adam and Eve and to their posterity or to their descendants. I cannot think of if you have a better idea of how the story could have been written to bring people back, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. Because I always see people criticizing what it says in there. And if you zoom in to particular events, just like we read of Israel going into the promised land and driving the people out, and at times they were given the command to wipe everyone out, that is very tough. Like, why? But you can't just take things in a vacuum and just say, well, for no reason he's doing this. It's all set up. Just like any event that you are talking about, you have to set the stage. And the stage is that we're all sinners, and God is bringing in redemption through a particular group of people. And he's going to send his son, the Messiah, into the world through that particular group of people. And just like any nations that are out there, God allows them to go off in their own way. He allows them to be corrupt, and he judges nations, That's what happens, and he judges nations through people. That's what's happening throughout human history. So we see that, but when this is happening right here, and this command is given to kind of just execute justice, William Lane Craig, his answer of this is a blessing to these children. If you look at it specifically as, if you have the view of before the age of accountability that everyone goes to heaven, it's, if there's an age of accountability that somebody begins to know that they're doing right or wrong, then at that point they've actually sinned against their creator. This makes sense. It makes sense, sort of, kind of. Otherwise, these children would have grown up into this terrible, God-hating, innocent slaughtering. They would have been grown up to sacrifice their own children. So that in itself, I can kind of understand why he is saying that. I never really thought of it like that, as in being a blessing for someone, because then you think of, well, why don't we just go out and blow up, people that are doing abortion, clinics. They're blowing up abortion clinics. They are actually doing something good. Or if you are aborting someone, that you are doing something good because you're sending them straight to heaven. I kind of, when I look at this, I always struggle with, people can be so against the slaughter of the innocents, and this can catch you so off guard and you hate it so much, which it is repugnant. It's tough. It's very, there's no way of easily cutting it apart and slicing it so that then it makes sense. But then the same people can be like all for abortion. Like how does that jive? Or you want to save children, you don't want children getting blown up in certain things, and that is terrible, and what happens in war, collateral damage when kids and innocent people get killed, but then the same people can be okay with abortion. I've never understood that. I can understand what it is to be on the side of, whatever's in the womb, whatever's in there, we don't see it. Let's close our eyes. Let's not even think about it. Because before I became a Christian, that's how I was. I was like, let's remove it. Why would I care about something in someone's stomach? Why would it matter? I don't see it. But since I've become a Christian, now I would say that is terrible. But I'm trying to be as consistent as possible. So this is a very tough text in the Bible to kind of understand what's happening. But the story of redemption plays out that God is sending his Messiah in. He's bringing it through the nation of Israel. They are the chosen nation because it's the one who he chose to bring his son into the world. When Jesus came on the scene, nobody argued his credentials in the sense of he's the son of David. They could have easily thrown that one in his face, say, no, we got records. The temple is still up and going. We have all the records of whose lineage is who. Yeah, we can say you're not a son of David. You did not descend from David, Jesus, and just immediately disqualify him from being the Messiah. But God's plan was he chose Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And we just think of so many times a part of this world that we just assume Christianity. We just assume the morals of Christianity, and then we judge everything else by it, and then criticize Christianity. But it's like if we weren't raised with a Bible, just being enveloped and just drowning in Bibles all around us, and our culture just having that as a bedrock, we would just be out in tribes out in the jungle, and we would just be slaughtering our kids to appease deities out there that we think are controlling us, and that they're controlling our atmosphere, they're controlling our lives, they can wreak havoc and punish us for everything. So we got to slaughter our children. And it's like those people were slaughtering them to appease the deities, but now we're slaughtering the innocents in the womb to appease God knows what. I would still argue that there is no better way, that the way that the Bible is written out, the redemption plan, there is no better way. If you grant that we fell into sin and the Garden of Eden happened and we are deceived and we are all in rebellion to God, how is God going to make peace with us? He doesn't have to give us grace or mercy, but he decided to do it, and this is the way it happened. What other better way could there have been to explain it all? How could God have made things right with us and brought us back into communion with him without the way it plays out in the Bible? The toughest part is definitely the Canaan conquest, like we talked about, and might not have convinced you at all. I understand it happened, and trying to say that a reason why it happened like that is it's tough, and we can have different explanations. William Lane Craig's answer was just it was consistent. It was a blessing for these children that it happened, but it doesn't really still sit well. So, all right, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to continue this conversation, hit this link right here, and I will see you on the other side.
I could see the cracks falling in the paint, growing like a fire. What do I say? Can you see them? Can you see them?